Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics Q&A on Tuesday night. It is the 11th of June, ahead of round 14. I'm your host, Bales, and you can find me at BalesDT across the socials. If you are tuning in live, make sure you get your questions in on YouTube or Twitter. Or if you're listening back to the podcast, thank you very much for listening back. Hopefully you enjoy the pod and get some questions answered. But if you aren't listening live, come over next time and tune in live on a Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern or 7 p.m. Western Standard Time. And you get your questions answered live like some of the listeners will tonight. Joining me is one of our AFL Fantasy Fanatics, the newest member. It is Jordox, mate. How are you? How are you looking ahead of round 14?
G'day, mates. Yes, looking okay. The buys haven't been as friendly to me as I was hoping at this point, but we are only 50% of the way through, and there is plenty of action to come, and we've got lots to talk about. So, going well, mate.
Yeah, exactly. No, plenty to discuss, and we will introduce our guest, who's been a regular guest on the Tuesday night Q&As and across the channel pretty much since we started. It is Liam from Free Kick. Mate, how are you? How was your round 13? How are you feeling ahead of round 14?
Oh, yeah, I'm actually not too bad. Round 13, it didn't go too badly. I did the classic trades everyone else did. Brought in Errol, brought in Dowling, brought in Fisher. Felt very good about all that. Traded out Bonner, and then sort of felt generally actually pretty good about where my round sat. The only thing that sucks is I still don't have Max, and that's still a shit experience. That game, like every time Melbourne play, I feel pangs of dread. And the only thing that makes it more weird for me is he, in my home draft league of note, he is my ruck. So I sit there going, 140. Oh, this is great, but it's shit. Oh, I don't know how to feel every single game.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel that. Plenty of players this year have gone, don't want to do well, but then my draft team, hey, I've got them there. So, but where about you rank now?
Oh,
and what was your score?
I think I've just popped it. I've spent the last 3 weeks outside of 20K because I've had every
you've had every
and
bullet,
I've just popped back in. I've just popped back inside. So things are looking pretty good. And looking at trades this week, after them, I should have only one kind of rookie left. And that's Jeremy Sharp. So not a real rookie. But that does include some pretty dud players. Like I'm still technically counting Tom Stewart in that. And that's let's put him in the he's on a short leash category.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, plenty to discuss this week. So I think we'll get stuck straight into a few of the topics of the week and then get into your individual questions. So as I said, make sure you put them in the live chats across there. If you do want your question guaranteed to be answered, there is a super chat button there where it will sort of pop up and we'll answer the question. But if you're not like to do that, put the question below and we'll get to as many as we can throughout the live show. So, boys, I think we'll probably start off with the targets coming off the bye. So we've obviously still got our round 12 players in your players in Brisbane, North Melbourne, GWS and Sydney. And then you've also now got Port Adelaide and Fremantle players. So we'll talk about the Freo and Port players first. So, Liam, I think we'll go to Freo first. I think the obvious ones, I think there's three. That you got Luke Ryan, Jordan Clark and Caleb Sarong. Luke Jackson, a few people have maybe floated the idea of maybe a 2-week play of covering a Max or a Marsh or an English or someone, and then maybe flicking in post then. Is there anyone else from Fred besides maybe those three or even a Luke Jackson that you'd be considering?
Not really. They don't have many forwards. Like we've talked, earlier about maybe, there's some mid-priced options, but I just don't think unless you're in dire straits, you should be really looking at them. So it's those, if you don't have Hayden Young at this point, I don't think you should trade in either. Yeah. So of the players that aren't owned by 30 to 40% of the comp already, it's Sarong, Ryan, and Clark who sit pretty firmly at the top for my mind.
Yeah. Have you got a favourite out of those three that you'd be sort of making, not priority, but you'd be getting first, or how would you rank the three in order?
This is extremely tough for me because I hate the way Fremantle play. I think it's outrageous. And I just think that it's as much as there's been some talk after the Melbourne game, pre their bye, why will they change it? They've just won a game. It's been a dominant performance. I think there are kind of two responses to that. And one is, I don't think anyone's sitting there thinking they won the game because blokes like Clark and Ryan, who, by the way, who had 6 pressure acts for the entire game, did Luke Ryan. That's why I hate the performance so much. 150 points with 6 pressure acts. They dominated from stoppage to a degree that we've probably not really seen this year. They got whatever they wanted. But then separately, there was if we want to take the other side of the coin, their ability to dominate and hold on to the ball for long periods of time really did make it difficult for Melbourne to ever get a run on themselves. So if you sit in the camp that, okay, other teams are now going to be put on notice we probably need to sit higher up the ground, similar to what we see not Melbourne, Adelaide and GWS are teams that do this a lot. They have their half forwards really push deeper up into pockets to try and cut off space for those designated kickers, for those kind of pivot players and those fat side kind of halfbacks. And whether or not we see more teams doing that to try and counteract Ryan, particularly, who just accumulates possessions at will. Now, so I'm really left in this position of like, I want to say, Sarong is the one that I like the most, right? Because he's probably got the most consistent role. And we've seen this year that even if he does get some attention at stoppages, his ability to go win the ball first, it's certainly not what we saw from Titch when he was going at 120 plus, but he has that kind of ability to be first to the ball that a tag doesn't impact nearly as much as other players. But I think Luke Ryan, I just don't think I can sit here and be a hater for too long. So it's very close as to which one I like most. I think if you want to go for it, just go Jordan Clark because he's cheaper. And Ryan's priced at 117, 118 at this point. And no matter how good you're scoring, that's hard to maintain for the rest of the season. And that's kind of what you need to be thinking at now. And then... but personally, if it was for my team, I'd be picking Sarong because I think he's just going to be the player that's not going to be impacted by whatever game plan changes get thrown at Fremantle for the rest of the year.
He's priced more reasonably too.
Yeah, I think.
And
there was a
his
somewhere.
ceiling scores aren't in his cycle, are they? I think that Richmond game was 5 weeks ago. Or it might be on the net more.
Yeah, and there was someone, I can't remember where I heard it somewhere this week, but someone said that he's still one of the only players that's actually priced below his season average in terms of those top midfielders. So, I can't shout.
It was Lemon.
That, but
no, it was Lemon on our pod last night.
Yeah, I've just listened to that. I've listened to that many today and last night that is all sort of gone. I can't remember who said what. So we'll move to Port. So Jordox, you've got there's probably 3 options that coaches would consider. You got Dan Houston, who's got a couple of tougher matchups, but he's got a nice month after that. You got a Zach Butters, who is still a solid enough target in the midfield. And then we had the return of Connor Rosie, who has got a massive break even. I don't know if we can go there this week, but I'm looking at, and people are going to say, stop complaining because your team's in good position, right? But I'm looking at my own team. I've already got a few of the popular trade-in targets of this week, so I don't actually know who I'm going to be going this week. So can people contemplate bringing in a Connor Rosie with such high break-even, or can you just not do it?
Oh, you can do it. It's just not ideal because you've got the high break-even, but you've also got not the query around the role, but, do they look to sort of ease him back into things, which wouldn't hurt playing him, forward to centre. We know how damaging he is there as well. So, there's a space for it. You can definitely do it. But, in an ideal world, you'd have a look first, get past that Giants game and see where he's at. Dan Houston's a really interesting one. $850K is a good price. My only concern with that is I just think the quality of the back six at the moment this year, it's just so strong back there. Could you find a spot for Dan Houston? He's got the ceiling. He's gone 150 on a couple of times throughout his career. This year's ceiling, he's got a 136. He's just a really nice price. But again, that backline at the moment is chockers, and I think those who are scrambling for cash to get Luke Ryan in, and there's just some other options there. And then you've got Trav Boak. There's a forward option. Oh, yeah, come back to Butters as well. I like Butters at 900. I think that's a really good price for him. He had a couple of average weeks. There was a tag game from Chincotta, then there was the North game. But overall, he's had a pretty strong year. So you could do a lot worse for 900K. And then, like I was saying, Trav Boak is another interesting one, 700K forward. There was a bit of fanfare about him before the bye because he'd had a few tons in a row, and then he just sort of dropped a flat 70. So I don't think that puts a line through him. Yeah, but I don't think that puts a line through him. But yeah, you're probably not necessarily looking there. And just quickly, if I could pick out a Freo guy that wasn't mentioned, that I'm really keen to have a look at post buy is Andy Brayshaw. Yeah, he hasn't been anywhere near what he's done the last 2 seasons before this one, and there's various reasons. Hayden Young coming into the midfield, I think, has impacted him, which has surprised me, to be honest. I didn't think he'd be impacted, but he clearly has been. However, if you look at his scores, I mean, he's not really terrible. He's still doing okay. So for 880 or 890, there's another guy that, if you think he could have a big 10-week run post-buy, he could be a nice, unique option, against, a lot of us who will be jumping on the Sarong, for example.
I think the problem with Andy is obviously he's seen some less midfield, some less CBA time. And I just think that it's not only the arrival of Young, but also Fife reinserting himself in. And
of course,
I think that because Sarong and Fife are both first touch midfielders, but because Hayden Young can do both, anytime one of them gets it, Brayshaw's no longer the primary option to be running on the outside. It could be any one of the other midfielders, particularly if it's Fife getting that first touch. All three others have the ability to spread from a stoppage, so it's not a guarantee that Andy Brayshaw's going to get the ball. Also, his tackle numbers are undeniably down, and he's kind of scoring a little bit more in line with what we saw when he had his 2021 breakout. So averaging 100, basically 102 this year. He averaged 104 in 2021. And similar stat lines, 4.5 marks this year, 5 marks that year, 4.9 tackles this year, 4.7 tackles in 2021. Whereas in 110 plus seasons, he's going over 6. And it's those little half marks and those tackles, in addition to just probably not being as ball dominant this year, that are just leading to a few more difficult games. And then I also think that because, even in those seasons where he went 110, 111, that included some mega ceiling scores. Like he's got a 150 plus ceiling, as good as, the top 5 to 6 players in the
We hit a 180 last year.
Yeah, he hit a 180 2 years ago. 2 years ago, round 2. He has that ceiling that he doesn't really have this year. The reason why his averages weren't higher in previous years is he was the tag target. He would always cop a tag twice a year whenever they played West Coast, and there'd usually be at least 1 or 2 others. And unless the tag was dropped, that was a 70 or that was a 60. So those mega ceiling scores are also taken away this year. So if he's the best you can get to, I don't hate it as a punt, but it's not ideal this year.
You got to be hoping
that away.
Yeah.
That's what I would be doing it on.
Yeah, you'd need to see something. But if there is any change, his scoring potential and that price is tempting.
Yeah,
definitely.
For sure.
I think there was an echo coming out of your mic, Jordox, as well. So I'm not sure what was happening there. When Liam was talking, I could hear a little bit of an echo, but I'm not sure. So I don't know if anyone else heard that or if it was just coming through my headphones. It might even be my computer. Who knows? But we'll push through anyway.
We'll find out.
exactly. We haven't had any comments on live chat, so it might just be my iron headphones. So we'll move to, I guess, the 14 just briefly, because we did cover a lot of those titles last week. If you like our thoughts on that, you can check the last Q&A because we did go through those. But Brisbane, obviously Zorko, he's almost that guy that if you don't have him this week and you're chasing a ceiling score, if there's a week to do it, it's this week. He's got the Saints at the Gabba. We know what. Well, I don't know if people know he averages over 135 at the Gabba this year. Obviously inflated by 184, but he does have that ceiling, and he got a 148, I think, against Richmond. So you got him. I still don't mind Dunkley. I know he dropped to 79. He hasn't been amazing the last sort of month or two. He hasn't put up any of these big scores of late, but I still think he's a solid enough option. Lockie Neal come up a good score. I worried that Windhager will go to him this week, so I'm not sure about going him. They're probably the main ones. Liam, are you considering any of those guys or anyone else I didn't mention?
Dunkley, he's definitely on my watch list again. I didn't love the score build on Friday. The thing that I'm keeping my eyes on at Brisbane is what's going on halfback. Connor McKenna kind of leaving that game with a bit of an injury. Darcy Wilmot popped. Kind of didn't see the same kind of dominance from Zorko.
He got burnt a lot, though, from what I noticed.
What was that?
I thought he got burnt a fair bit in that game, Zorko. A lot of kicks just going over his head, or he called for a short kick and the player just said, "No, don't worry about it." He went long, which I thought was a bit interesting. Normally they do chip it to him, but
yeah, it's certainly something that I'm looking to go with the conventional wisdom this week and say it doesn't matter if he's passed over when they're placing Gilda, because chances are it's going to come back to him anyway. The other thing I was just kind of watching for is, I reckon, one of the 200k rookie options. Well, I'm personally hoping pops up, but I think is a possibility is I think it's Luke Beacon, Beecken. Out of the Sandful, kind of averaging, I think it was 70s or 80s in the Sandful. Running halfback, 22, 23 years old, looks pretty well built as well. And I think he had 22 touches in the VFL on the weekend. So just a name to watch out for as a downgrade target, particularly if you're looking for coverage.
He'd be perfect. Yeah, 200k, already had the buy. All we needed for 2 weeks. That'd be absolutely perfect if he could do that. Then we go to Giants, Jordox, Tom Green. Could you do it? That's probably the main one. You got Whitfield. I wouldn't be targeting Whitfield. His next two matchups, he's got Port Adelaide, and then he goes into Sydney, which it's pretty much bang on. He's going to get the James Jordan tag unless something happened to James Jordan. But to get that tag there, Peatling as well could be a cheap option, but Josh Kelly's a week away. So does that mean that he's sort of the lifespan of him being a good pick is probably shortened a bit more? I'm just trying to think. I don't know if there's anyone else off the top of my head I can think of. Maybe if people look in the rut, Kieran Briggs has been pretty good of late. Could you go there? I don't know. But firstly, Tom, what's your thoughts on Tom Green? Could you still pick him? And then what are your thoughts on some of those other guys?
Yeah. My thoughts on Tom Green hasn't changed. Is when's he going to give us a score that says, here we go? But look, he's so cheap. It's a bit like the Oliver move 6 weeks ago, which, hasn't really panned out the way, any of us had hoped. But, jumping on a Tom Green now, what have you got to lose at 740k? Like he keeps spitting out 80s, 90s. It's not
probably still going to be your best 18 anyway.
You'd think at some point the kid gets going. And I don't know, I wonder about, even Josh Kelly coming back in, if that's going to help him at all, just having another body there. Because Cogs is out. I'm trying to think who their main mids are at the minute, because Tom Green's still pretty young.
On the weekend, it was Tom Green, James Peatling, and I believe it might have been a Finn Callahan, I think, were the three main guys in there.
So absolute babies. So I don't know if all the pressure is on Tom Green and, even the defensive mids are targeting Tom Green at clearance. I don't know, that stoppage rather. I think you can still do it. I think a good game's just around the corner. It's just frustrating as an owner because it's.
I'm
always
advocating for everyone to bring him in. You can join this shitty roller coaster. And also, you guys, I wanted to say it earlier, pick Connor Rosie. Come and join me on the Connor Rosie bandwagon. It's a delightful place to be. All of you pay way too much, lose the cash, have the full kind of full and premium experience that I've had with these two players. I've had Connor Rosie since round one. It's beautiful. It's great. Come aboard.
There's your endorsement. There you go. But no, I think you definitely can, Bales, at 740 for sure.
Yeah.
And then other Giant options, I don't know. Harry Himmelberg always interests me, but I don't think that's a play.
Not with the two tough matchups that come on, I think.
No.
I think it's more Harry Himmelberg looks far better when Lockie Whitfield was kind of what he looked like about 18 months ago, which was a far more timid, kind of not as healthy version. I think you could have gone, all right, okay, I kind of see that works for me. I would go Harry Himmelberg because he was doing what Luke Ryan was doing, that bigger defender who was just at the pivot at all points, but he's just not doing that anymore.
No. And then Peatling's really probably the interesting one. And, it's probably him or Jai Simpkin, who we'll probably talk about later, that in terms of price point.
We'll chat about that question shortly. Yeah. I worry with Josh Kelly being back within a week or so with Peatling there. Peatling has shown he's not, he's a guy that could just be out of the team next week. So that is a bit harder. But Liam, I thought I would get your thoughts. Obviously, you're talking about Tom Green there. But in all seriousness, could you realistically look at a Tom Green? He's still value. I guess we don't love any of the guys in that 700K range because, really no one's going Rosie with a 159 break even, I don't think, unless that's all you can get to and you had a Tom Green already. But could you get Tom Green this week, sort of almost hoping or for a turnaround or maybe holding for 1 or 2 weeks and then he'll turn it around, I'm sure, at some point?
As a cash gen play from Clayton Oliver, because you make 1K doing it.
Yeah.
You make 1K doing it. I don't mind it as an M8 swing, particularly if you're in the position. I reckon a fair few people are. It's like, okay, finally I need to get Zorko. The man's upper 900K. That's, if I've saved any cash on last week, that's 2 trades taken up this week. One to bring him in, another one as a downgrade to bring the cash. If you're looking to sideways someone or you've got a limited amount of cash to get to a midfielder, Tom Green is about as low as you'll go. Yeah. You just ride the train because he's sufficiently popular at this point that I don't think it'll kill you if he has some average scores. Now, alternatively, if you think about it on the inverse, the fact you don't have him is an advantage because he's not looking amazing. But if you're desperate to upgrade a rookie or you really want off of Clayton Oliver, I don't think you need to take Tom Green off your list. I think you could do it.
Yeah, because if you look at Tom, I don't know if either guys got where Tom Green is actually priced at, but like his last 4 games, he's gone 98, 83, 91, and 77. He scored a 91 with a Blitzarves tag and a 77 with a Connor Nash tag. That was sort of at stoppages, not really a hard tag, but Nash was still with him.
Priced at 85.7.
So even if he goes at 95, 100 for next month, it's not that bad. You're getting value at least 10 points because sort of we've probably got to look at it at the moment as you, Jordox, I think you made a good point of it and saying it's a bit like that Oliver play where you bring him in, he's probably a stopgap for a month or so. If he turns it around and becomes the guy at the start of the year that he was, then you go, yep, you keep him for the rest of the year and all's good. But if he's not, you can sideways into, because I know that the Hat Chat boys spoke about it today. I was listening to him just before as well and saying that and that Trader says, well, our problems are the midfield because outside of a Zach Merritt, who's been pretty good, still got 100 being tagged, Sarong, and there's probably but Walsh has dropped a few poor scores lately. Most mids are dropping bad scores. Like even Dawson, who people thought was the number 1 mid a few weeks ago, dropped another 60, and then he backed up with a 120. So it's like sort of up and down. Bont getting tagged. There's just actually probably Goulden. Goulden's probably the other one. I probably should feel bad now because I've been on Errol for a while and left him out. But yeah, Goulden, Sarong, and Merritt are probably the 3, and maybe a Dunkley as well because he's. hasn't been. He's been pretty good besides last week. So, but besides that, all these other mids are just dropping these poor scores. So, but anyway, we'll push through the final two teams, then we'll get to the questions. North Melbourne. This is probably where we will chat about a little bit about Josh Simpkin in a second. Still LDU. It's a solid enough target if you can't get up to anyone else. You've also got Harry Sheasel for people that don't have him, or like myself that traded him out, may want to bring him back in. I'm a bit nervous. Played a bit more forward last week. Simpkin playing really well, so I might want to see a week or two of that playing out first. You've got a Tristan Sherry who's looking like he's a top 2 ruck at the moment behind Gorn. I think it's Gorn and Cherry. I think I've still got Marshall just, but Cherry's pretty close now, I think. Just try to... You can't bring in a power, definitely not. Fisher obviously is still a big target. I think a lot of people jumped on him last week though. So Jordox, is there anyone that you're looking at from North Melbourne?
I just want to see the latest on McKercher.
I think they said it potentially next week.
Chance for next week, yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Just the impact that would have on Fisher potentially, and McKercher himself, 592K. Anyway, that's
very low as well.
Yeah. But yeah, you couldn't do that this week. Oh, look, the only one I'm really thinking about, because I picked up a couple of kangaroos last week, Zach Fisher, tick, and LDU. We'll give him half a tick. I think he'll be right. It just wasn't the day for him. I think I didn't watch it, but yeah, he got to a high 90, so I'll take that for now. At the price. But yeah, the only one that, at the moment is firmly in my trade plans is Simpkin.
Let's chat about that now. So Simpkin versus Peatling, that's probably a lot of people are looking at that. I'm probably looking at Simpkin with I watched the first half. I didn't watch the second half. I had to go out for dinner before that. So I watched the first half. And to me, Simpkin, when he got the ball, especially in the first and second quarter, he looked like the Simpkin I remember seeing a few years ago, where like that sort of just that strong mid and not. He almost looked a little bit not timid at the start here, because obviously had that concussion. He had quad issues. He's had essentially every issue under the sun the past 18 months, and he finally looks like he's resembling a fit Simpkin that we saw a few years ago. So I'm probably Simpkin between him and Peatling. But are you agreeing with that? Do you think Simpkin's a good option? What are your thoughts with him?
Jordox. I think, before, I think he could have played before the bye, Simpkin, and they just stretched it out. So they've given him a really good break. Obviously, he had the quad concern, and he said that the head knocks and whatnot. The first portion of the year he was playing, he just wasn't having bulk CBAs. He was a little bit forward. That's how he picked up forward status. That's why we're talking about him, because we wouldn't be otherwise. But on the weekend, again, I didn't sit and watch that, but from all reports I've read, everything I've heard, he looked fit, he looked strong, and he looked like, as you said, Buzz, the Simpkin who was a pretty safe 90s guy for a couple of years there. So as a forward, priced at, at 580, and now I'm sure
low break
minuscule. I mean, 132, that's not like, I'd be looking at Simpkin if he hit a 90, 95. I'd be like, oh, that's a monster. He got that nice plus 14 that West Coast fans will be spewing about with the dubious tackle.
Your Ducky Tim's not on tonight, Jordox.
I personally think I can see why it was called, and I think anyone having a whinge and then the AFL coming out and saying it was correct, he's taking it far too seriously. If you take the ball on the ground and you draw it back into your chest, you've got to get rid of it. And it is different to other free kicks that you saw later in the round, where the ball was kicked at them, or when they're already on the ground, or falls onto them, goes out, brings it back in. That's a free kick. It's a shit rule, but it is absolutely a free kick.
Yeah. Oh, look, anyway, I've got him in a keeper league, and he's been doing my head in for years, Simpkin. So I was cheering for that holding the ball. Don't worry about that. But bringing it back to fantasy and to bring him in this week, versus Peatling, I think it's definitely Simpkin over Peatling. Job security. I mean, this is the captain of the club who's finally been released into the guts, and then they've picked up their first win of the year. I think it's.
And I don't think it's for probably 2-3 years. So
yeah. Well, his CBA's his percentage was the highest since
65%.
Since round 20 last year, I think it was. So,
yeah.
If the conversation is Simpkin or Peatling, it's pretty quick answer Simpkin for me. And then you extend that conversation to could you fit a player like that? Is it the time of the year for a player like that? And right now, as it stands, I think he's coming into my side this week. So,
and especially with like Luke Ryan and Zorko over $1 million, people wanting both those guys in, you probably got to take a haircut somewhere, and Simpkin could be that guy that fits your team for a few weeks. Liam, thoughts on Simpkin and then Simpkin v Peatling?
Yeah, look, I'm Simpkin over Peatling just because I don't think Simpkin's going to get dropped. Because I actually think they both come with similar risks. Because, look, the CBA percentages have been all over the place, and roles have been all over the place at North, and we've talked about it a bunch this year. Anytime they lose by any considerable margin, or even in game, they're flicking things around. So Tom Powell has been a lever that's been pulled. Harry Sheasel has gone up and down in his CBA percentages. LDU has gone up and down in his CBA percentages. And then we've even got bloody Liam Shields coming in. Even though he's been tagging in rounds 10 and rounds 11, he still also had CBAs on the weekend. So I think, yeah, great. He's that cheap that you can't afford not to pick him. But I almost hate it from the rest of the players that I like in that team are probably going to see some shifting sands in their role. Sheasel was below 40% CBAs. Tom Powell was below 40% CBAs. LDU had his lowest percentage of the year. He'd been up above 80 every single game. It had been him and Sherry, and then just a band of merry characters after that. He's dropped down to 65, resting a little bit forward. And then George Wardlaw suddenly popped back up again to be the second highest CBA midfielder. I don't love it. I really don't love it at all. But I can see why, given how cheap he is, that he presents too much value. But he's always had the ability to have big scores, but he goes missing real bad.
Yeah,
he's not a good half forward, but I just think that there's so many things that Clarko's trying to do at once. You've just got to be wary. You just got to be ready. And if he puts up one of those 30s or 40s because he rests forward in a week of best 22, you're concerned. So you need to map out your exit plan.
Yeah,
I think if you're bringing him in. Yeah,
exactly. I guess the thing that makes it a bit worthwhile as well is the fact that we've got a lack of rookies to downgrade to, especially if a lot of people that jumped on Billy Downing last week. Like Nathan Krug, I've seen a few people ask in the chat. Again, you bring him for a week. He's injury prone. They got the bye next week. He's 295. You could go. He's probably the one you probably go for. But then we're looking at guys like I've looked at the other guys like Toby Pink. I've considered bringing into my sides because I need defender rookie. He's 269k. A few people also said like a Jed Buslinger from the Bulldogs could get named this week with Alex Keith out for 6 weeks at 200k. If he's named, you probably go him over Pink and save the 60k. But it's slim picking. So Zorko with a low break even. Sorry, not Zorko. He's got a high break even. Simpkin with a low break even could maybe be a cash play for a few weeks. And then you go him up as well. So finally, we'll just go to Sydney as well. I don't think there's really too much to discuss with Sydney, actually. I think Errol, amazing target. If you didn't jump on him, I think he's one of the more consistent mids we've got this year. You've also got a Isaac Heaney. A lot of people have got him already, but if you don't have him at this point, it's time to jump on if you don't. Chad Warner, you could as well. I do worry that he's kicked a lot of goals the last few weeks to get to those scores, and he hasn't. If a guy's kicking 4 goals in mid, I'm probably wanting at least a 125, 130 plus, and he's been going 115s or so with the 4 goals, and he hit bang on 102 goals.
Cracking a ton.
Yeah, so yeah, and I think he's going to be.
Can I speak to Chad Warner for a second?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he and LDU look like similar fantasy players to me now. Chad Warner obviously scores much more goals, but it's the classic like. Do we question if they're just classier footballers than they are fantasy accumulators? And so I did some digging. Chad Warner, up to last week, I haven't updated this for this week, leads the league in running bounces by nearly a full bounce per game. Can you name the other fantasy midfielder inside the top 20 who averages more than one bounce per game?
No.
Zach Butters.
But yes.
But that is every single other top 20 scoring midfielder below or, at or below one running bounce per game. And it's very indicative of the style that they play with. Like Chad Warner doesn't look to accumulate. He will take you on, he will bounce, he will run around you, and he has that power and that like ability to shift direction in a way that just no one else has a chance. But that gets you 0 fantasy points. So if I don't love bringing in Chad Warner, and he's done this to us before in 2022, but he was coming from a lower base. Like he was a 70s midfielder, and then he became like a high, mid-90s guy for a bit, and then went back down last year. So I'm not a fan of Chad Warner for fantasy. I love to watch him. I just don't think he has the ceiling because he looks to actually win in ways that never accumulate points.
I think he will be in time. He's only 23, and these types they peak. The fantasy peak is a bit later on. These I call them super coaches, right? Guys that are probably better scoring in that format.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you with most of that. I am warming to Warner. I was a little bit cold on him last week for the fact that he's got to kick goals to get that score, but he just keeps doing it. And Sydney, they're monstering size with their midfield. The only interesting thing I'll say about Sydney, that's going to be, it's going to be quite a story in the next few weeks. Callum Mills is expected to join in main training, so full training again, and he's listed at 1 to 2 weeks away. So
good for all the draft sites I stashed.
Yeah, exactly. But just his price, obviously, $759K in a couple of weeks. That's going to be very tempting. But more, what sort of impact does he have on a Goulden, on a Heaney, on a Warner? So he's going to he's going to
return of Luke Parker.
Oh,
Luke Parker's going to come back at the same time.
My fingers are crossed that both Mills and Parker play predominantly forward, because looking at the forwards this year, it looks like a lot of the top ones, Heaney, guys like that, and Flanders and Zorc will be defenders. We're not going to have any forwards next year, so hopefully Mills and Parker become these forwards. But I think you're hoping. That's a bit of a prayer for Mills. I think if anything, he's playing wing or halfback. Yeah. Parker's the one, obviously, that could. Yeah. No, agreed. But yeah, beautiful. Let's get stuck into some of these questions. I did just see a tweet though. Captain's Challenge put out that sort of just a bit of a sort of self-gloat right now for Bales here. Number 2 in the country for captains last week. So had Flanders 1, Gawn 2, and Errol 3. So pretty happy with that. So Mitch,
is there a Captain's Challenge version, but for total points scored by the players that you didn't trade out over the ones that you did? Because I think you might win that one too.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that one.
Hold on. What's this Captain's Challenge thing? Is this
Aaron De La Porte set up so like everyone can pick their top 5 captains for the week, and sort of they can compare themselves to like Calvin and Mitch and Caden, obviously with his projections. So
who was your number 1?
Flanders.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't follow my own goddamn advice, and I went for I went Marshall VC into Gawn. So thankfully
Gawny saved the day.
Yeah. So we do have a super chat here though from Chris. So thank you very much for saying that through, Chris. He says I'm 30K short of getting Zorko and Fisher this week. So it's either Zorko and a 770K forward, or Fisher and a 960K mid. Which would you guys go with? So I'm just going to quickly have a look at what a 770K or less for. I don't really think there's any options really. Like we're probably looking at almost a Simpkin territory.
It's Fisher and Sarong. That's the trade.
Yeah, I was actually checking. Yeah, Sarong's
952K. 952K. That just dust that one off. Like I think we're all very.
Zorko's not a great team, I don't think. Yeah,
we all want Zorko to be great for us. I think we all are doing it knowing there's a risk of an injury or a sub, particularly if Brisbane don't win in the next few games and they don't really kind of push on to have a hope at an 8th spot, because there is a pretty tight grouping from, 3rd and 4th on down to about 10th at the moment, and they're just on the cusp of that. So I think I prefer going Fisher and Sarong over Zorko and a below 770K.
Agreed. Yeah, I think it's good. If there's a way getting a 200K rookie like a Buslinger comes in and then that makes you afford it, obviously go for Zorko and Fisher. But as you say, if you can't do it, I think Sarong and Fisher is the play. I don't think Zorko's a break your team sort of player, even though he could go massive this week. Just a quick question I'll sort of chuck in here as well. I heard the Hat Chat guys talking about this as well. I want to get your boys' thoughts on. So obviously we want an upgraded team by the end of the buys, but there are going to be some teams that have still got rookies, have had bullets, and they can't get there. Is it okay to have, say, your F6 being your final rookie spot? You could loop between a Billy Dowling for Joe Richards comes back, probably not Fraser, but a few of these guys on the bench, or do we still need to get these guys up and get a Simpkin or get a Tom Green, even though he's not sort of showing us much, or getting like these guys that aren't quite the premiums, but getting guys that put up the score? So, Liam, what are your thoughts on that? Is it still try and get all these rookies off, or do you mind having maybe one, especially F6, maybe like a Dowling / Richards or whoever's their type?
I don't love the cycling of a rookie at your F6, because I do think we've now managed to pass our way through the forward kind of riffraff for quite a long time, and have managed to find 7 or 8 good ones. I think Caldwell's sitting as like the 5th, or 6th highest ranked forward. I don't mind. I think Isaac Rankin is another option coming off the bye. But the main reason I don't love it is I think that there are like little ticking time bombs in Fisher and Sexton, because we've seen already that their role isn't set in stone. Now, I think Fisher looked great on the weekend, and he's actually looked like pretty decent the last few weeks. And I think Sexton has had some great moments. He was pretty like average on the weekend, but I also don't think they game planned particularly well, or it didn't appear like the game plan particularly well for St Kilda. I don't love it, because if one of those two then becomes I need to trade them out, or they start kind of putting up slightly lower scores, then you're stuck with only 4 good forwards, and you've got a shit one and a rookie that you're trying to loop through. I don't love that risk profile. I'd prefer to be looking to try and complete a non-rookie, non-looping forward line. And then maybe if one of those pops up, then, in a few weeks, you say, all right, well, we'll try and loop with Dowling and Harvey Harrison or Joe Richards, for example. But right now, I don't love it.
Yeah, no, I think I agree as well. Try and get the rookies off the field. But, yeah, some people might not be able to with all the bullets they've been throwing around. Josh got this question, Jordox, Ryan or Zorko?
I've got Zorko and I want Ryan, just for transparency, but I'd still say Ryan. I just think, Liam touched on a few of those paranoias I think we've probably got around Zork, that it hasn't happened yet, the hamstring, the sub and whatnot. But, geez, as the year rolls on, he is 34, 35, and his legs are getting older. It's a long year, and Luke Ryan is he's in incredible form. I'd go with Ryan.
Yeah. And then Josh also says Grundy or Cherry. I think it's Cherry. Grundy's been solid, but I think Cherry is a realistic top 3 to 4 ruck. And he's got an argument to be at number 2. I just think his tackling just raises his floor, so I'd be going Cherry there. Power Pro Star saying, g'day, lads. Zorko or Dunkley's VC this week. I think anyone that's got Zorko, it is the you smack the VC on Zorko. So, yes, I think it's as simple as that one there. Sneeko, love the pod, boys. How do I prioritise Marshall or Cherry to Gorn? Interesting. Sharp to Goulden and getting in Ryan over the next few weeks. So, Liam, I don't know if we'll probably go Marshall out to another ruck, but would you be going Sharp, prioritising Sharp to Goulden, or would you be looking at getting like Luke Ryan? So I don't know who's trading out, but next couple of weeks, what would you be doing out of those two?
Oh, that is a tough one. So I actually don't hate going Max because I think he's got a fairly decent run for the rest of the year for Rucks. It really depends on who the out is for Ryan because I think Goulden for Sharp, I think you're going from the kind of cheeseburger meal all the way to the full Big Mac, large fries and desserts because they are like Jeremy Sharp plays a little bit like Errol Goulden if you squint, and that really wide. They hold their width very, very well. They get involved in the kick mark game and absolutely froth standing about 40 meters almost behind the ball. Like, yep, pass to me. I think I'd prioritize going that. I've already talked about why I think Luke Ryan and Fremantle are just something's going to change. Other clubs are going to force them to change. And we've already seen them try a little bit with Jordan Clark. But I think what happened with Melbourne, I reckon there are a few teams that have pricked their ears up and gone, all right, like we've got Fremantle soon. We might need to do something different to try and disrupt that because they had it way too easy.
Tony Ford's got this question. He's actually sent this to me as a message, Ross. So sorry I didn't get that, mate. I was at work before, but I thought it'd be good if you chucked it in here. We'd answer it here. So Jordox, he said he's trading Sexton to Goulden an option this week. We'll give him an extra premium for this week. Other options are just rookie downgrades on the bench as Sexton's my second cheapest player after Dowling on field, which is crazy because Sexton's like 740K. So in a very good spot, Tony. So what are your thoughts on going a Sexton to Goulden or would you be maybe cashing up to go a rookie up next week and then put Dowling to the bench?
Yeah,
Sexton's.
I don't love it. I'm just loving
what
Sexton's doing. Yeah, I mean, you're in that.
I'd be trying to scrounge for Simpkin. Get up to someone at 500K, loop if you need to in your forward line over the next few weeks because it sounds like you've got a pretty good team. And that ought to leave you with some cash to then launch into a Zach Merritt next week, for example. That
for me, I'm so angry that Essendon did not have the round 12 bye, round 13 bye because Zach Merritt, I need in my side. I've seen his run. That game, I was so impressed with that game he played on Sunday night against Chincotta was all over him.
Those final 3 quarters, I think you mean, because he did sweet FA in the first.
Yeah, but just So Merritt, I hate not having him, but I love when I have him. It's one of those players. But I need him, and I wish he was on bye this week.
Sexton's got top 6 forward in him from here to the end.
Yeah, so. I think so. I think he's top 5 at the moment. I think he's probably if you're looking at, he's probably number 5 behind the big 3 and Fisher. So, Alexander Solomon says, "Who do you think's a better buy, Goulden or Zorko, Liam?"
What are they priced at the moment, actually? So
Goulden is priced at 968 and Zorko's 998. The 30K difference, obviously with the St Kilda matchup for Zork this week.
And then Goulden, I just need to check Goulden's run because I obviously bought him in. It's kind of tough to pick a bit with Goulden because he's run, like, it depends on where he's actually playing.
Doesn't come off the ground either. So,
yeah, look, Sydney have a tough run for mids for the rest of the year. I think maybe lean slightly towards Zorko, but that's a tough one. I think both could be top 4 or 5 scorers from here.
I think the forward status as well for Zork is pretty big.
Yeah, you're going to want both as well. So, you could go Zorko for the big matchup this week. We talk about the sugar hit, and then you get Errol next week. Don't know who Sydney have got next week.
GWS for Sydney next week.
It's normally a bit of a tricky game, that one. Not normally a high-scoring game. But then, in all fairness, funny enough, Tom Green's actually had from besides the injured game this year, he's normally had a good record against Sydney in the past. He's had a few 130, so we'll see if he can bounce back there. Daniel Kempster, Jordox, Neil or Brayshaw? Who are you picking out those two?
That's a good question.
I like that one because it's not one of the ones we've talked. I like the more obvious types we talked about this week. A little bit of a maybe pod pick.
Yeah, this is a good one. 868 Neil, and Brayshaw was about 888, maybe 890, similar.
I'm leaning Andy.
Yeah, I think Brayshaw. I think the thing that's probably sticking out with those two is the tag is probably going to come back to Neil now. I mean, he looked so good on the weekend. And then just the basement scores, I think Brayshaw will typically most weeks, even if he's not really getting going, he'll find his way to 90. Whereas Neil, we've seen, he can probably drop a 60. So I like the two picks. They're unique, but I'd be, just erring on the side of the young fella, Andy Brayshaw.
Yeah, I agree. Brayshaw's just, if he's having a great first half, no one's going to go and tag him. Lockie Neal has, a 20 touch first half for the team of the tagger. Bang, he's there. And that's a 90.
Except the Bulldogs, because they just saw him dominating. They're just like, yeah, that's fine. We'll let you keep doing that.
The Bulldogs are built diff. That's all we can say.
Yeah.
Geez, his last 5 are actually quite good, Neil. I didn't realise.
Yeah, he has definitely picked it up. He started real quiet and real cold, as did Brisbane.
A few 120s, yeah.
But he's going to get the win tager. If I had to guess, he'll get the win tager tag this week, and that man is a bully.
Yeah, he is.
Unfortunately, shout out to Luke from Ball Boys, who is the only one I know that's got Took. And as he said, who would have thought Took Miller best mid in the AFL? Apparently, according to Ross.
Honestly, I can't believe Ross Lyon did that. Noah Anderson is the player you should tag every single day of the week.
Yeah, potentially Matt Rao, but not Took. Took's
no,
the third,
it's Noah Anderson. If he's free and he's got no attention at any point, Gold Coast typically win. And he's so easy to tag.
Yeah. And I'm just having a look here as well. So Neil's especially his next 3 matchups, St Kilda, Windhager, Port Adelaide, I think we'll put Willem Drew to him. But McEntee will go to, I don't think he'll go to anyone. Melbourne, we just saw Neil Bullen go quite well. And Neil has had some pretty big games, especially in finals against Melbourne, and Melbourne know that. So they'll put Neil Bullen onto him as well. So his next 3 could be 3 tags. So I'm not sure about Neil. Damon Snell's got this one here. Not a question, but in terms of Bulldogs, Jed Bustlinger might potentially get a call up soon. With key defenders stocks down, with Alex Keith and Ryan Gardner out, he's been performing quite well in the VFL. High draft pick, averaging 20 disposals, 8 marks, and 82 fantasy points. So I think if he comes in, he's going to be probably the most trading player of the week, because a lot of people are probably looking for a defender rook to cash in on. I've got a closey on my bench. A few people got some of these guys on the bench, so you might be looking at a draft at a cheap rookie, and he could be the option there.
Just got to watch out for he's got 1 game before his bye. And we've traded in a lot of round 15 bye players, round rookies. So got to be thinking about your balance at that point, and just feeling comfortable that he's got the job security.
Yeah, because I'm looking at it from, I either bring Pink in at 269, who's not going to be my best 18 whatsoever next week anyway. So I'm like, well, I could go bust him. As you say, other people could be in will be in different positions.
Well, speaking of round 15 by potential debutants, Dougal Howard's out for 4 weeks. Do we see Sean Maker's finally debut?
I think Cordy will play. I think you need to replace him with an actual defender.
Yeah,
I think asking us asking for Sharma to get a debut is like us asking for Riley Bond to get dropped. It just doesn't seem like it's going to happen this season. It's just Bond is stuck in the team. That was a
better hold him off for next year then.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We don't want him playing a game or 2 and then being out. So, what have we got here? Josiah Mitchell, who I'm pretty sure is top 20 overall. I'm pretty sure I've seen Josiah's name up there in the top 20 when I've scanned through those teams. Then ticking off Darcy Wilson, Jack McRae, and Will Graham to Billy Dowling, Jordan Clark, and Josh Dunkley. Yeah, just lock it away. I think we can all agree with that one. I think they're
Are we sure on Clark at 900k?
Yeah, I think worst case is that you trade him at round 16. He's got the Sydney team. He's probably going to he could make 60, 70, 80 plus K in the next couple of weeks, because he's got to break in like 50 or 49 or something. So I like Clark as an option. I think he's Dogs this week. I know Dogs have been a bit iffy this year with matchups, but we have seen some players go big, and Zorko would have also gone big if he wasn't burnt so much. And a few of the Dogs got a few Lions players got marks on the weekend. So, I think I'm a fan of that. We'll go a few more here before we wrap up. We got a few bits of chat here. Well, Corey said about Toe McMullen could be a good option if he's not the sub. I think the only worry about
playing
that is
the last game of the round,
final game. So I don't think any of us could go him at 290k playing the last game. As much as he looks really good when he does come on, he brings a fair bit of impact there. Okay, now it's just refreshing. Hey, yeah, Sean, why did you go Flanders 1 when you didn't VC him? Yep, great question, mate. Great question. Thankfully, it didn't cost me too much. Red lighting, Sarong, Goulden, or Dunkley? Liam?
I think it's Goulden, Sarong, Dunkley.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that, I think. Jordox, you agreeing with that as well?
Well, it depends where you are and how different you want to be. I like the 79 from Dunkley last week. I think it's just put enough people off the scent. Because before that, he was pretty good. So, yeah, it's hard to go past Goulden, though.
So on Dunkley, I think we've seen better performances from Berry and from McCluggage that have taken a little bit of his ceiling away. His ceiling game was in the stupid Gold Coast score of Basquillion points game. Outside of that, he's been solid, but not really been putting together those like 130s, 140s that he really could do at the Bulldogs. I just wonder what's going to happen with West Coast, with the midfield balance of Brisbane if they do start to suck at the end of the year and they've got Ashcroft to bring back in. And in all, like it's a distinct possibility that they're going to try and get some final games into Dev Rob to see if they can convince him to not ask for a trade at the end of the year, because I'm sure as much as he signed an extension, he'd be going, I thought I was going to get more of a chance. And there's another Ashcroft coming through the door. I agree that if you're looking to be a real pod, I think the 70 throws you off the scent a little bit. But I actually think there's a reason to go, that's not ideal. And I don't think we've seen much of that from Sarong. He's just not put together like mega ceiling, but he probably hasn't put together that that's a pretty lackluster performance.
Yeah, and my mate was actually saying this to me earlier today as well when we were chatting about Dunkley, and he raised a good point. From round 6 onwards, he's because I think we obviously say you can't cherry pick stats, but I almost felt that round 8 game you can remove because that's such an outlier because of all the big scores. So if you take that score away, here are his scores from round 6: 90, 100, 114, 105, 96, and 79. And it's not like he's played these tough games. Like, got Geelong, really easy matchup where he got a 90. The Crows aren't too bad, and he got a 114. Richmond are a really easy matchup, scored the 105. Hawthorn an easy matchup if you're not being tagged. He scored a 96, and then the Dogs are probably a bit neutral, a little bit harder, but he got a 79. So he's only had the 2 scores outside that 150 over 120. So yeah, that's the only thing that sort of throws me off a little bit.
And then looking at Sarong, who's been, the picture of consistency. But again, if we take out one score, which was against Richmond, he's gone over 107 once since round 3. So
yeah, I know exactly. It's about on those things exactly, and
consistency.
Dunkley's that player that could go on a run of 4 weeks, averaging 125, and we wouldn't bat an eyelid and say, "Yep, let's bring him in." So, but yeah, it's an interesting one.
The single best midfield performance we've seen this year was, I would argue, Caleb Sarong round 1.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Great.
Because even when Bont went 160, he did that partly as a forward, like Sarong. Pure midfield, even got a little bit of a Deb Rob tag. That was the best.
Jordan Dawson, I'm biased, but I think Jordan Dawson's had some all-timers.
He's had some mega ones too, but I personally think
that's the wrong one, round 1. Yeah,
that was insane.
Touches. Yeah, no,
it made everyone sort of go, whoops, should have started him.
Yes. That kid that we've always known had the talent actually is now gone another level again.
Yeah.
Bailey Miller's got this one, Liam. Thoughts on Goulden this week versus waiting for Walsh next week? I think I know what your answer is going to be, but your thoughts?
Oh, I think it is Goulden. The thing with Walsh is, like, obviously coming off a bad performance, he looked great before then. It's just, what is the reintroduction of Adam Chera going to do to that midfield balance?
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be bad. I don't think I'm throw him out. It's just a query, and I really like Goulden, and I think we all know that he's someone he's appeared to have thrived at the back end of seasons now 2 years in a row, and I think that does come down to his fitness. And he's just so clean, even when the ball's dewy. So I think I'll lean Goulden.
I do as well, and Walsh has got a few tags as well, potentially posted by. So round 15, I think we could see a guy like a Mullen running with a Walsh, or like an O'Connor or something like. Actually, O'Connor will probably go to Cripps if anything. Richmond, he should be fine, but then he's got Giants. I think Ward's actually done a job on Walsh in previous games against Carlton. Then he's got a good run to the year, but maybe next 3 weeks you could probably hold off on Walsh, and Goulden's just looking very, very nice. So I'd probably be going that way as well. I reckon we'll finish on this one. We got a super chat here from Dave, so we'll answer this one. Who we taking in draft? Defenders, McKercher or Duggan? Also forwards, Adams, Powell or Jeremy Cameron. Great show, lads. Thanks, Dave. So so Jordox, are you going McKercher for long term, or are you going Duggan?
I like McKercher. If he's only 1 week away, I like what they're going to give him every opportunity to get the ball in the back end of the year.
Yeah.
Liam, who do you like for the forwards?
So we had Cameron, Adams,
and Tom Powell.
And Tom Powell. That is a tough one. Because I think they're all like...
And Taylor Adams gave a good score on the weekend, didn't he?
But he's... If anyone's going to see less time getting the pill with Mills and Parker, it's Adams, because Adams is a forward who drifts in kind of Jai Caldwell style.
And then Jezza.
I actually think that honestly is Jezza, because I think the fact that Geelong's been playing poorly means that we've already seen that Scott is trying to give Jezza different roles to give him the best chance to dominate. That is the lever they're going to continue to pull. And if he's playing really well, he scores really well.
He has been coming up the ground a bit, hasn't he?
He started a few of the quarters on the wing. And I think
100% game time sometimes. It's a great effort for a guy who runs.
Yeah, so I think it is Jeremy, because I think we all have concerns on Powell at this point. I think he had some good moments on the weekend, but I don't love, again, the midfield balance shifting. But that is a tough little group to pick from.
Let's have a look. Oh, hold on. I've got the answer for you. Because it's a draft question, it's head-to-head, right? Leagues. Who are Geelong playing in the grand final? If your leagues play round 24 as a grand final.
Are they playing Richmond?
North Melbourne?
West Coast.
Yeah. Oh, that could be.
Oh, but to be fair, I wouldn't be looking at that West Coast matchup as much this year, because Barrass and McGovern are both healthy. So that
they cannot cover Jeremy Cameron. Jeremy Cameron is a forward in name only.
Imagine they're playing. Imagine the Cats are playing for a top 4 spot or something like that, right?
Or even to make the 8. Like, we need percentage to make a top 4. Like,
I think that's a great classic old school way of sealing the deal. Who are they playing in the granny?
Yeah, no, I like that. I've just seen 2 or 3 questions just quick. We'll sort of rapid fire this one. PG Chip, who goes first, McRae or Clary? It's got McRae, get rid of him. At least Clary can hit 80s. It's got to be McRae. And plus, he's got to buy next week. If you can field 22 either way, maybe have the extra number for next week just in case.
I'd rather Finlay than Jackson at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Jad asked this question as well. Goulden or Heaney? We actually had a few people ask that towards here as well. So Goulden or Heaney, Jordox?
Heaney. Forward status.
Yeah, agreed. It's Heaney's forward status.
Yeah. And then we will finish off with this final one. Lockie Russell said thoughts on Kruger. So we didn't really talk about Kruger too much, but what are our thoughts on Nathan Kruger? I don't know. I could go there, but I'm not huge on it. Jordox.
Oh, I think we'll let the week roll on. We've got a Friday, Friday start this week, so we could see some other debutants put their hand up for 200k. That might shift the conversation, but right here and now, I think Kruger's a great option. And you've got to go, we said last week, Bales, you've got to assume that you're okay for the round 15 bye if you bring in someone from that bye. So if you are balanced throughout that week, I like Kruger a lot at the moment.
Yeah.
Liam?
Yeah, I fully agree. He gives you Gorn coverage this week as well, because most people don't have bench coverage at this stage. So I think you pass the eye test. I think it looks really good. Good pair of hands.
Yeah. Actually, I do really like that. We'll do one more because I really like this question. Charlie Roberts, is it time to move on English to Tristan Cherry? Cherry's got good matchups or can move Wilson to a Peatling type. So I don't know. Wilson needs to go, but I don't know if Peatling's a guy. You could go Wilson. I think Wilson to Simpkins probably still to play, but next week, could you guys go Cherry to English? It's probably going to be almost a straight swap, or it might even cost
English
you money, I think.
English to Cherry.
Yeah.
Cherry's got a really hard ruck run for the rest of the year. I think it might be bottom 3. And so I'm in a real pickle because I'm thinking I might want to bring in Max. And I've got English and Cherry. So I need to make a choice on who to get rid of. So, North's run for rucks, it's obviously a little bit skewed. They've got Collingwood this week, but it should only be one ruck. But then has in the 4 after that, he's got a game against Max, a game against Witts, and a game against Grundy. So, I don't think I would be doing that. I think that there are other upgrades you could be making in your side. Because I just think we all know English can average 100 and Cherry might only average 105.
Yeah. I think Wilson to Simpkins probably the trade that you're probably, if you're going Wilson to Peatling, you could go Wilson to Simpkin. I'd probably be happy with that. And then Bailey Miller said, can you guys list your top 10 mids to target? Mate, I think this is definitely not the time, I think, to be listing mids because it's just they're all over the shop. I think you can probably put your Gouldens and your Sarongs and maybe like a Merritt as your 3 and maybe a Dawson as well as a guy that's got a ceiling. But besides maybe those 4, there's not much else that you can be confident in week to week. So I think ask us maybe in a week or in maybe a few weeks' time, we might be able to give you a better top 10 there. So, but we will go through our early trade plans to finish off. So Liam, as the guest, mate, what are your current early trade plans? If you don't have the exact trades, just sort of your thoughts on what you're looking at doing.
I'm going to be looking to. I held Harley Reid so that I could loop on Luke Dowling. So he's out, and then I'm looking at getting off Clayton Oliver and Marcus Windhager. Now, at the moment, I'm looking at bringing in Dane Zorko and tossing up between LDU and Dan Houston, plus potentially just bring in a 200k or some low-level rookie. I've not decided what I'm going to do on that front. But, yeah, my main toss-up this week is LDU or Neil or Dan Houston is kind of my 850k option because that's about all the cash I'm going to have.
I like that.
Jordox?
So at the moment, the 3 outs will be Tom Stewart after a nice fortnight in my side. Clayton Oliver and Matt. And at the moment, it's going to be Kruger, Simpkin, and then it's going to be Goulden or Luke Ryan, I think.
Yeah, I'd love to be bringing in a Goulden, Luke Ryan, or a Zorko, but fortunately,
you've already got 2 of them. What are you having a whinge about? You've already got 2 of them.
Because I got no idea what I'm doing with my trades this week. So, no, I'm currently, and people are going to be listening to this going, oh, Bell, shut up. You stop complaining. But no, when I don't know what to do with trades, I've got, this is where normally I'll start messaging 50 people, but I'm not messaging anyone. I'm just going to decide myself.
It's time to bring in Sam Berry. All right. 444K.
But no, my current thoughts, if Buslinger is named, I'm probably going to go Closey down to Buslinger to cash there. Going a Darcy Wilson slightly down to a Josh Simpkin, and then I don't love it, but going a Clayton Oliver Oh, hang on. No. Sorry, that's keeping Wilson. No, keeping Wilson, going Bonner down to Simpkin, and then going an Oliver across to Tom Green to then next week go Darcy Wilson up to Zach Merritt. But I've got to still play around with it. So we'll see what I do. But
well, we've got the Thursday night for the first time in a long time.
But I don't like it. I wish we had Thursday night footy though. It feels like such a long week.
Too.
Thursday night footy.
I do too, but that extra 24 hours to really map things out, I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, it will help this week. So, but beautiful. That'll wrap us up there. But thank you, everyone that sent through their questions and tuned in live. We very much appreciate it. Thank you also to Chris and Dave for those super chats they put in there. And thank you for listening back on the podcast. Very much appreciate it. If you're listening on YouTube, if you can smash a thumbs up on the video, they're very much appreciated. We have, I think we are 85 currently still listening here. So hopefully 50 of you can hit the like on there and subscribe and everything like that. If you're listening on the pod as well, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. That'd be very, very much appreciated. But Liam, thank you very much, mate, for jumping on. As always, where can the people find you across the socials?
You could find me on Twitter at Liam AFLW Fantasy.
Yeah, and where can people find the Free Kick Pod as well?
Free Kick Pod, Free Kick W Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Just look it up. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple. We're on pretty much everything. The AFLW preseason has started, and so you're probably going to hear some more from us quite soon.
Yeah, beautiful. No, really looking forward to that one. Jordox, thanks very much again for jumping on. Where can the people find you?
Yeah, on X at Jordox 2020. And the last few weeks I've been doing a public service and announcing the subs the very second they're available. So it saves you looking here, there, and everywhere for the subs. Just find Jordox. And I've actually just started having some fun with these AI creations, doing the mascots. So Demons versus Magpies. Yeah, go have a look. And if you like them, leave a comment and let me know, because I'm enjoying making them. And it just jazzes things up a bit. Anyway, that's it. Good luck for the week, everyone.
Good stuff, mate. And you can find me at BalesDT on the socials as well. And you can find AFL Fantasy Fanatics at AFL Fantasy Fans on Twitter as well. We're back on Friday for a pre-lockout chat. As always, I'll be doing my trade talk video as well tomorrow. Probably still without an idea of my trades, but make sure you guys tune in for the trade talk video. And we'll catch you guys on Friday for the pre-lockout chat. Thanks, everyone. And we'll chat to you then. See ya.
Yeah.
So, yeah.